All right, welcome back to Pick6. This is week 4 of the 2012 NFL season. As you know, we got 6 matchups, very NFC heavy this week. Our first matchup, though, is from the AFC, the 1-2 New England Patriots at the 2-1 Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a big matchup for both of them because New England doesn't want to go down 2.5 games, 4 games into the season. And Buffalo would like to be 2.5 games up over New England with a win. They really don't want to lose this game. But with the injuries in Buffalo's backfield with Fred Jackson and CJ Spiller still kind of iffy, they may not see. They haven't been ruled out either way yet. But Shard choice is going to be carry heavy this week. It's really going to come down to New England's revamped defense, whether they can get turnovers against Fitzpatrick, who is prone to turn the ball over from time to time. Whereas New England, after letting Kellen Winslow go, have to stay with a 3-receiver set that they were using last week. So it looks like Wes Welker will probably have another big week following his 9-reception, 142-yard game last week. But I think New England is going to pull this one off. I think they're going to remember what happened last year, and they're going to take the steps they need to correct what went wrong. And they're not going to let a lead escape them this time. So I've got New England over Buffalo. Our next matchup is the San Francisco 49ers coming across the country to play the New York Jets, who are now Darrelle Revis-less. So that's going to be very, very hard for the Jets to overcome. Not that they can't, because it can be a tad bit easier to replace a defensive player than an offensive skill player from time to time, depending on the player. But I think it will be hard for them to replace Revis because you got Cromartie on the other side talking about how he's the best DB in the NFL right now, which is far from the truth. Not completely far, but he's not as close as he thinks he is to being the best. But we got San Francisco coming across country, and we all know that teams that come across country from the West Coast to play a 1 o'clock game don't do very well at all in the 1 o'clock games. But San Francisco just got embarrassed in Minnesota last week. So they're going to be pretty upset, pretty focused, and determined to win. I have San Francisco winning this game and bucking the trend of the West Coast team losing the early game. And it's not because of the Revis injury. It's just because I think the fortitude of Jim Harbaugh is going to make the difference in this particular matchup. I just don't think the Jets have enough firepower on offense. Their week 1 explosion notwithstanding. But I don't think they can match that again against this San Francisco defense that's going to be hell-bent on making amends for what happened last week in Minnesota. Our third game we're looking at is the Minnesota Vikings, 2-1, at the 1-2 Detroit Lions. This is a huge matchup for both teams. For Minnesota, this will be absolutely huge to be able to keep pace with the Chicago Bears in the NFC North. Whereas for the Lions, they can't afford to fall 2.5 games behind the Minnesota Vikings in this early on in the season, because they are a very undisciplined team at this point in time. They really need to focus on being more disciplined, and I think they've got a chance to pull this victory out just because their offense is highly explosive. When you score 44 points and lose, that's not good. That just screams of not loose. You're just not paying attention to detail if you're giving up more than 44 points to an NFL team. You're just getting, it doesn't mean you're getting out coached. Your team is giving up. defensively, so to speak. But Minnesota surprised a lot of people. And Christian Ponder, a lot of people didn't think he was going to be a decent NFL quarterback, but he's proven some people wrong this season. He's looked very, very impressive, very high completion rate at this point in time in the season, and it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. I have Minnesota hanging on and covering the spread against the Lions this week and taking that 2.5 game lead over Detroit into the future. Our next matchup we're going to look at, we're going to the 2-1 Chicago Bears at the 2-1 Dallas Cowboys. Now, in my preseason predictions, I had both the Cowboys and the Bears finishing 10-6, but I had the Bears making the playoffs on a tiebreaker. So that means, obviously, since this is a head-to-head matchup, that I have Chicago winning this game against the Cowboys in Dallas. I think Jay Cutler's going to really put it together, and under pressure, he's going to come up big to Marshall, and they're going to win, and they're going to move on and take the lead in the NFC North along with the Minnesota Vikings. Our next matchup we're going to look at is the 2-1 New York Giants at the 2-1 Philadelphia Eagles. I'm wondering if Michael Vick cannot turn the ball over. He is a turnover machine this year, but Philadelphia is finding ways to win, which is a very good trait to have for an NFL team. You always want to be able to find a way to win. That's what the Giants did last year at the end of the season, and look where that took them. Super Bowl championship. So, good things happen to those teams that can find a way to win and overcome their mistakes. Now, whether they'll be able to do that this week with the Giants coming to town, we'll see. But historically, Philadelphia does well against the Giants. So I'm going to take the Giants, even though history says I should take Philadelphia. I'm going to take the Giants in a high-scoring game, probably like a 38-34 type game. And I have a feeling that Philadelphia will have the ball with about 3 minutes left and a chance to win. But a Michael Vick trusty turnover is going to happen here. And so it's going to be a Giants win. And then our final matchup isn't necessarily it's a marquee matchup, but both teams absolutely kind of stink right now. And that is the 0-3 New Orleans Saints at the 1-2 Green Bay Packers. Yes, the Packers got jobbed. But all things are better because they got jobbed. We got our regular officials back. So hopefully something like that won't happen again to an NFL team. But New Orleans, 0-3. Their defense is terrible, and Drew Brees is just forcing things. His completion percentage is down, his interceptions are up, and his touchdowns, they're not necessarily down, but his touchdown to interception ratio absolutely stinks right now. And it's because he's trying to do too much. He knows that the defense just can't hold their end of the bargain, so he's trying to press it every chance he has. Now, when I did my preseason picks, I said that New Orleans was going to struggle and finish 10-6. They would have to go 10-3 the rest of the way in order to hit what I thought they were going to do. And right now, if they lose this game and drop to 0-4, whew, man, that's rough. That's rough to get to 10-6. They'll be lucky to finish 8-8. They'd have to go 8-4 the rest of the season in order just to finish 500. So they're on the road at Green Bay. Green Bay's going to be mad because of what happened. But Green Bay's offense it doesn't look good. A lot of teams are disrupting the Packers' flow on offense, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't really been able to get off at all this season with his receivers. It's been very tough sledding for that offense at this particular point in time. Now, I do think they will put it all together, and your best remedy is a crappy defense. Guess who's in town? The crappy defense. So I've got Green Bay going to 2-2 and beating the New Orleans Saints by probably at least 14 points. But then again, I have been wrong before, so we will see. And that's it for this week's edition of Pick 6.